Okay, what we're going to do now is install the block-off plate for the exhaust manifold. This is stainless steel. It will not rust, and it will hold up, and it will create a seal if you saw the other video with air fitting device that I made. So what we're going to do is we're going to head and we're going to get this out, make sure there's no grease or grime on it, wipe it off with a dry cloth. And then once you get that, get this high temperature copper sealant we're going to use to just to create a gasket on here. The best thing to do with this little baggie is to just bite off the corner right here so you can squeeze it out there just like a cake frosting bag. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can also cut it with scissors. As you can see, I just bit that off, and now we can use that to squeeze the sealant onto this block-off plate. So you just take a little of the sealant and you want to run a bead all the way around here. Not too much. You can use less than this if you want to. So we just have a bead around the outer edge. The other thing too is to allow this to set up for a few minutes, even 5-10 minutes, just to allow it to get a little bit hard. It'll just help it not to all squeeze out everywhere when you finally put it on to seal it. And now that you've allowed this sealant to cure a little bit, we are now going to install the block-off plate on the exhaust manifold. So what you want to do is you just want to line it up, center it up, and just gently push it on and hold it with your finger. If you've allowed it to cure a little bit, then the copper sealant won't come squeezing out everywhere. Now you take your clamp as you're holding the block-off plate, and you hold the block-off plate with your finger, and you hold the clamp, and you open it up enough that you can slip it right over the block-off plate in the exhaust manifold. And the best thing to do is to take some vice grips. You can squeeze that together by hand. Just make sure that the block-off plate is still centered as you're getting all this tightened up. What I'll do is I'll take vice grips, I'll gently clamp that, and that'll hold that for me so that I can take my bolt and slide it through to get it started. And as your vice grips are holding the clamp closed, you want to put your 11mm wrench back on and go ahead and tighten that up. It might pop off. That's okay. You can get your 12 now. Alright, so just continue to tighten that down until it gets tight, and then just give it a last crank when you feel it. Can't really over tighten this too much because it's drawing it in and sealing, so just give it that last crank and then you're good. Now we're going to install the intake block-off plate. What we have is a gasket and a 3/16 stainless steel plate. And we still have some of our high temp copper gasket material left, so we're just going to again just do a slight bead all the way around the gasket. You don't want to go too crazy with it, but just put it on there. Try to make one bead all the way around it. Again, like the exhaust plate, if you can let that cure for 10 minutes, that'll help. So once that's cured, you put that very carefully on the intake port where the EGR valve used to be, and then you take your stainless steel plate and you put it over top of it, and then you take the metric hex bolt and you screw that in there, screw the other one in there, line it up, make sure it's all lined up, screw her down. So once you get your two hex head bolts in, just turn them down. Don't over tighten one of them over the other, of course. If you have any of the copper sealant that's squeezed out the sides, after you tighten these bolts down, not the last crank tight, but just the hand tight, you can just wipe it off with your rag you just take your rag and you just carefully wipe that off. And if you really care, if there's a little bit left on there, you can always take some diesel fuel and just clean that right off. So now it's almost done. You just want to do 2 less cranks. Make sure your vacuum line for the EGR valve either has a BB in it or a screw. You have your intake block-off plate sealed. You have your exhaust block-off plate down there sealed, and you're ready to go. Enjoy the kit. And don't forget that this install tutorial has been brought to you by monstercraftsman.com. Have fun.